It started quietly, just another legal dispute filed under the radar, but it's quickly unraveling into one of the most shocking celebrity scandals of the year. At the heart of it is Jen Abel, a former insider who claims she was betrayed by the very people she trusted: PR powerhouse Stephanie Jones, Hollywood royalty Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and their stealthy media company, Van Zandt Incorporated. According to newly unsealed documents, Abel alleges that a calculated scheme was launched behind her back last September. The goal? To gain access to her private phone data without consent and use it to orchestrate a smear campaign that would ultimately benefit the reputations and legal standing of her former employers. The allegations don't stop there. Abel says this wasn't just a breach of trust, it was a coordinated operation involving back-channel communications, questionable legal filings, and a PR cleanup job dressed up as a lawsuit. The players she's naming are not small time. We're talking about Hollywood elites and their lawyers, accused of using the legal system to hide a digital hit job. It's a story that throws a harsh spotlight on the industry's dirtiest tactics: data theft, weaponized subpoenas, and brand-protecting strategies that cross serious ethical lines. And now, with a federal judge refusing to shut the case down just yet, those secrets are dangerously close to becoming public record. What was once a whisper in legal circles is turning into a thunderclap that could shake more than just reputations. It could shatter the illusion that celebrity image building is harmless PR. When the case landed on Judge Lyman's desk, few expected him to do anything more than shuffle it aside. After all, Hollywood lawsuits come and go, often more spectacle than substance. But instead of dismissing Jen Abel's claims outright, the judge surprised everyone. He leaned in. With motions flying from both sides, Lyman made it clear he's willing to dig deeper. At the center of the legal brawl is a demand from Abel's team for internal communications, emails, messages, records between Van Zandt Inc., Jones Works, and their legal teams. Abel argues these conversations could expose a coordinated effort to illegally access her phone and then sanitize the data transfer under the cover of a phony lawsuit. Van Zandt, Ryan Reynolds' company, pushed back hard, claiming the records are irrelevant, burdensome, and that if anyone should provide them, it's Jones. But the judge wasn't buying it. In his ruling, Lyman stated that under federal discovery rules, Abel has a right to explore any non-privileged evidence that could help prove her case. He emphasized that even if a motion to dismiss is pending, discovery can and should move forward when serious allegations are at stake. That's a big deal. It signals that the court isn't brushing this off as tabloid noise. Instead, it's treating the claims like what they are: alleged violations of privacy, potentially masked by a carefully orchestrated legal front. And if that's true, this isn't just a celebrity scandal. It's a case of high-level manipulation, using the justice system as a cover. The judge's message is simple: no one is above discovery, not even Hollywood's golden couple. What makes this case so explosive isn't just who's involved, it's what they're accused of doing and when. Jen Abel claims that her private communications were accessed and shared long before any legal justification could be claimed. According to her timeline, Stephanie Jones had access to Abel's phone after her termination and allegedly passed that sensitive data along to Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and their associates before any subpoena was ever issued. If that timeline holds up, it's not just unethical, it could be criminal. The entire premise of Van Zandt Inc.'s lawsuit, Abel argues, was nothing more than a smokescreen, a legal Trojan horse designed to retroactively justify a data grab that had already occurred. It's like breaking into someone's house and then applying for a search warrant after the fact. And Judge Lyman seems to agree that the timeline matters. In his ruling, he emphasized that if communications between the parties reveal discussions about Abel's private texts or emails prior to official legal action, that information could form the bedrock of Abel's case. That means Vanzen, Jones Works, and their legal teams might be forced to hand over communications that could show the true origin of this so-called lawsuit and whether it was used to launder stolen data under the guise of a legal dispute. The court's language is telling. Relevance will be interpreted broadly. If there's even a chance that these documents reveal a conspiracy to obtain and distribute protected information, Abel is entitled to see them. This isn't just discovery, it's potentially the smoking gun. For months, Blake Lively stayed carefully distanced from the ugliest parts of this legal mess. Publicly, she downplayed her involvement. Privately, she avoided naming names. But that changed the moment the heat got too close. In a sudden pivot, Lively is now calling Stephanie Jones, a woman she once seemed to protect, a co-conspirator in what she frames as a coordinated smear campaign against her. The timing? Suspicious to say the least. For someone who refused to identify Jones for months, this abrupt shift feels less like a revelation and more like a survival tactic. Insiders believe this is a classic case of cutting ties before the ship sinks. By labeling Jones a non-party co-conspirator, Lively is essentially throwing her under the bus while trying to shield herself from legal fallout. But here's the twist. It's exactly what some predicted would happen weeks ago. Predictions Lively's team once called defamatory. Now it looks more like a warning that came true. The judge isn't missing a beat either. He's greenlit discovery that will peel back the layers of these relationships and expose who knew what and when. If Blake's sudden distancing from Jones is part of a plea-style deal, it may explain why Jones hasn't been sued yet. But it also raises bigger questions. Was Blake simply trying to contain the damage? Or is this the start of Hollywood's version of turning state's witness? Either way, the alliance between Lively and Jones is crumbling, and what spills out could be far more damaging than they ever planned for. Just when the legal drama couldn't get more tangled, in walks Jed Wallace, the PR fixer with a Rolodex full of secrets, and suddenly the spotlight shifts again. Blake Lively, now on the offensive, is demanding that Wallace hand over the client list of his company, Street Relations. Why? Because she believes he may have orchestrated similar smear campaigns for other high-profile clients, and she wants proof that her reputation was targeted in the same way. Wallace, of course, tried to shut it down, arguing client confidentiality and industry ethics. But the judge wasn't having it. He ruled that Wallace must comply, pointing out that confidential status doesn't shield documents from discovery, especially when there's a protective order in place. If Street Relations ran similar digital takedowns in the past, the court wants to know. Lively's legal team is betting that if they can show a pattern of behavior, they can prove intent. But the ruling sends a chilling message to the entire PR world. Those murky back-channel tactics you thought were untouchable, they're fair game now. And this doesn't just expose Jed Wallace, it puts the entire machinery of Hollywood reputation management under a microscope. If Street Relations ran stealth campaigns, bots, negative press, algorithm manipulation, against Lively or others, those receipts could soon be in court. It's a PR nightmare flipped inside out. For years, these firms operated in the shadows, crafting narratives and bending perception for the highest bidder. Now, thanks to one woman pushing back, those secrets might finally come to light. And if the truth is as ugly as the rumors, Jed Wallace won't be the only one sweating. Behind all the subpoenas and legal filings lies a much darker truth. One that cuts through the glitter of Hollywood and exposes a system built on manipulation. What this case really shows is just how far celebrity teams, PR agencies, and legal fixers are willing to go to control public opinion. From hiring firms to spread negative stories to deploying bots that flood social media with fake outrage, the tactics are as sinister as they are sophisticated. And the irony? The very people who publicly champion truth, transparency, and progressive values are now being accused of the same digital warfare they claim to oppose. It's not just Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively in the hot seat, it's the entire image-making industry. The court's openness to explore these tactics sets a dangerous precedent for those who've relied on shadow campaigns to maintain their spotless reputations. And it begs the question, if your public persona can only be upheld by silencing someone else, is it even real? Whether it's Jed Wallace, Stephanie Jones, or any other hired hand behind the scenes, if they're orchestrating disinformation under the banner of strategy, the consequences are finally catching up. And let's be honest, both sides of the political and entertainment spectrum are guilty. It's no longer just about who's telling the story, it's about who's buying the narrative, shaping it behind the scenes, and using it as a weapon. This isn't just a courtroom battle anymore, it's a reckoning. And the mask of Hollywood perfection is cracking, fast. With the judge refusing to halt discovery and both sides digging in, the next chapter of this legal drama is poised to explode. Ryan Reynolds' company, Van Zandt Inc., can no longer dodge the questions. If it turns out they knew exactly who to subpoena and how to launch a lawsuit, just days after gaining access to Jen Abel's phone, the entire case against them could shift from speculation to proof. And then there's the wild card, Stephanie Jones. If she handed over data without resistance or legal safeguards, that could blow the lid off the entire operation. Was this really a coordinated attempt to sanitize stolen information and use the courts as cover? If so, the repercussions could go beyond civil liability. It could venture into criminal territory. Meanwhile, Jed Wallace is now under pressure to expose who he's worked with in the past and whether this case fits a broader pattern of digital sabotage. Blake Lively, once silent, is now scrambling to separate herself from the very people who may have acted on her behalf. But it may be too late. The judge's decision suggests he's not buying polished excuses, and he wants the truth, regardless of whose reputation takes a hit. In the end, this is no longer just about Jen Abel versus her former employers. It's about power, privacy, and the lengths celebrities will go to keep control of the narrative. The curtain is lifting, and if the receipts match the accusations, Hollywood's most untouchable players may soon find themselves answering questions they thought they were too rich, too famous, or too connected to ever face.